What do you want exactly out of your life? It's a simple question, but sometimes it's harder to answer, but it's worth trying. It's worth to make an effort because the alternative is just letting someone else decide for you, which often leads to mediocrity. I am still very much in the process of figuring out things for myself, and I highly suspect that this will be always the case. So I can't pretend that I have got all the answer and show up as a guru here. However, I'm really passionate about it. I thought I'd share why I figured out so far for myself and how I approach generally answer this question, because sometimes at night, that's what I do. I believe that we've never been in more need of intentionality in our lives right now than ever. The answer to all of this, in my opinion, is design. To use the word design as a verb is to do or plan something with a specific purpose or intention in mind. Very few things in our 21st century now happens by accident. Everything is by design, architecturally designed, people need design, everything needs design. And so does the way you approach your life. Lifestyle design for me is distinguishing between what's important for me and what is not, and trying to be as specific as possible. This focus really matters because I'm not here to tell you that you can get everything done and there are no limits. There are limits because you're a human being. Nobody can have it all. And the people who usually try to sell you this idea just want the money out of you. This thing, having it all, shouldn't even be the purpose, first of all. Again, I think the first thing should be doing the things that bring the most importance to you and are important to your happiness as a human being. And mediocrity, like everyone else, shouldn't really be defined as having less. It's not. It's just playing by someone else's rules. Okay, so let's first talk about how this process specifically looks. To start with, it's not a one-time deal. I mean, it's not like you pick what you want to do for the rest of your life today and then you work towards it. It's not like that. This road is really messy. I've changed my perspective like 1,000 times and that's alright. These are difficult questions to answer, and in fact, they're gonna change depending on who is next to you, what state of mind you are, and generally how your spiritual state is at the moment. And these sort of answers and things you want to do in life are going to change throughout your entire life a lot of times. And I think that's alright because we are all humans and that's just how we are. I'm going through a transition right now on my own from old goals to new ones and different perspectives on the same thing. And this is because my priorities are shifting and changing directions. The life I want is not the same I wanted 10 months ago, 5 months ago, or even a month ago. It always changes. I kind of had to go back to the drawing board and think about the changes that I need to make. I think this is really important for was to be experienced, and for me at least. It always felt like I am blindly finding my way in a dark room trying to find the light, looking for the lamp or for the door or for anything. This is because I only have a really vague idea of where I want to go. And this is the truth for most of the people, because some people don't even think about this and go in a way that they're not really designing. It might seem for some people that they've got everything figured out, that their life is sorted, but if you look at even people who are 50, 40, 60 years old, they still haven't figured out where they want to be in the end. I'm even gonna say about my parents here, because even with them, their needs, wants, and generally everything changes, I would say every half a year or a year, and the way they see the world. I would say my parents has changed so much in the last year that if I would talk to my mom 1 year ago, I don't think I would recognize her as the same person now. But if you look at people and their presentation, it's a different story. It looks like they've got everything figured out and everything's fine in their life. But it's just not really the case for anyone. I remember this being explained to me really clearly a few months ago. Imagine you are trying to go from point A to point B, where point A is where you are starting out and point B is where you think you want to go. Instead of looking like a straight linear line, your progress is going to look something like this. I would add that you're learning as you go, and maybe halfway through the process you realize you don't even want to go to point B. You actually want to go to point C, which is over here. Now you're going somewhere where you never thought you really want to go when you were starting out. This is in fact one of the most magical and at the same time frustrating things about life. I found that having a North Star can be tremendously helpful in this situation. In fact, I've got two, a professional one and a personal one. Overarching goals have helped me tremendously in terms of orientating me. So here's how I did it. I sat down with a pen and paper and thought to myself, what do I want to be in 10 years from now? I'm not a huge fan of very long-term goals, because I find that it's very difficult. It is almost impossible to predict where I will be geographically, emotionally, and spiritually in 6 months from now. I have come to realize that it helps you have a major or bigger thing to work towards. And here's what I wrote for myself. My personal goal is to develop my understanding of who I am and honor it. In one word, self-compassion. And my professional goal is to fulfill my whole potential. These two goals for me lead toward the same thing as to deepen my experience as a human being. Well, there are not real rules here, but I'm just sharing what specifically worked for me. Of course, before everything else, I would advise you to have a support system, at least of some kind. And I've been lucky enough to have at least a few people in my life all the time to keep me on track. That is trivial, and I cannot skip on that one. Besides that, I think everyone really needs to get to know themselves better as a person in general, and not getting to know other people, but actually getting to know themselves. And you can do that in two ways. I give them two really broad terms, which is input and reflection. Input means consuming information, all sorts. So you'll have a better understanding of the world. So that can be through reading a book, watching a video, listening to a podcast, having a conversation with somebody, but you cannot learn everything from others. So sometimes they just mean experimenting. Throwing yourself into new experiments and then seeing how you react on them. The second step is reflection. And it, for me, in fact, it's not new information. In fact, that's kind of the opposite, and it's actually turning off all the distraction and looking inwards. So for me, it looks like meditation, time alone, or maybe journaling. Reflection is about processing the information and actually taking a moment to think, not just act, work, or do, but just think. I found it extremely helpful to get as centralized as you can in terms of looking at what you liked as a kid and what you was more inclined towards. Remember that I used to be really artistic from day one. I loved art, videos, photos, and everything like that. And also I was really entrepreneurial, as I used to sell dolls and my toys to my classmates. And that was also a thing that I sort of started doing without realizing it really. And that's actually a huge insight if you think about this, because it is you in the pure form before you got all those expectations and all the experiences. Take just a moment and ask yourself, what can you not live without? I do really think you have to create or design your life based on what things are you after. But if you don't know yet what you're after or what you specifically are looking for, then you just have to experiment until you find something that you understand you can really live without. And I think none of us are really born with this, as we all really starting in dark rooms. Even most successful people ever, they've also been in that dark room. And I think they're still there. There's a bit of lightning, but at the end of the day, nobody has figured it out. And you know what the most unsexy part of the video is? That you can't really figure it out right now. It doesn't work that way. It can take months, it can take weeks, it can take 1 year, then you figure it out for 1 year, and then you go again to the dark room. And it's not like social media makes it look that you just download that £2,000 course and then it all works straight away. It's not like that. It can take months, years. But it's not about working what gives you money. It's about working on what gives you the sense of you. I have found that treating things like little games or maybe experiments by giving it a chance to develop into something more really take the pressure off, and it actually makes you more creative and more willing to do it more. It doesn't make too much sense, but you get the idea. I know this is sort of heavy stuff that we're talking about here, but we all have to think about that to have a better idea of where we are and where we want to go. Ultimately, it's not that enjoyable in some senses, but we just got to stick with it because we are playing the long-term game, and that's what's important, and not the short-term game. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got any other suggestions about this topic or your way how you are actually sort of answering this question, please let me know in the comments down below. Also subscribe to my channel. I've got other videos like this and more other interesting things about life in the UK as a student, and other sort of videos on mental clarity. And I hope you've got a lovely rest of your day. Peace.